Hey, Ray Martin here for Church of the Ascension Family Life. The more I read about good Catholic parenting, the more I start to completely freak out that I am failing, especially when you look at things like the National Study of Youth and Religion that says that less than 1 out of 3 kids in the U.S. grow up to remain in the same faith as their parents. But as in most things, when you have a big lofty goal or some task that seems daunting, I think having a plan and following the lead of people who have done it right can make the impossible more doable. So today we're wrapping up what we've learned from the National Study of Youth and Religion, and we're going to figure out how mamas can make sure the babies grow up to be Catholic. If you missed a couple of our previous episodes, the first was on microchurches and how our children's future identity is formed in the home. The second was on super parents and how important your influence is to the future faith life of your children. I'll include links to those down below. And I would encourage you to go back and take a look at those when you get a chance. Today, though, we're going to look really into the nitty-gritty of exactly how to be an effective Catholic parent and pass on our faith to your children. Now, we could fill a library with how-to books on Catholic parenting, so it's not like we're going to cover everything today, but we are going to at minimum offer some practical insight onto what this looks like in today's world. In a presentation on the National Study on Youth and Religion, Justin Bartkus said that effective parents are intentional and reflective. They provide an environment in their microchurch at home where kids grow up having observed that being a practicing Catholic is meaningful, and that it's a good thing and something that they'll want to continue to have in their life as adults. They'll feel that way if they perceive that being committed to the faith is valuable, but they won't if they just see church as pointless. Now, they'll look to their parents as a witness to make sense of what they're learning from attending Mass or youth faith formation or youth group or Catholic school. So for you super parents, it's critical to know how important your role is and to have a purpose for passing on the faith. In addition to that, you need to reflect on how you're doing. I mean, it's one thing to have good intentions, but that's only going to get you so far if you aren't looking back on your family's religious development. Back in our first episode on microchurches, we defined the goal of Catholic parenting as helping our kids recognize that being a devoted disciple of Jesus as a Catholic is meaningful and even necessary to living a life of joy and fulfillment. So that's our intent, but how do we do that? In our second episode, we covered the general findings of the National Study on Youth and Religion and how less than a third of households in the U.S. are effectively passing on faith to their children. And Catholics are not at the top of that list. But we can look to those homes that are effective and find out what we need to do to turn those stats around. According to the National Study on Youth and Religion, there are 4 variables that parents either do well or don't do well in teaching their children that faith is something they should want to have in their life when they grow up. The first was that parents communicate why being Catholic is important. The second is that they authentically model what they say about being Catholic. So they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. The third was they bring religious content into the life of the family through programs like Catholic school, youth faith formation, youth group, CYO sports, camps, etc. So I think I remember them saying that, parents are like the director. They're the ones that are saying, hey, you should go do this, you should go do this. And then most importantly, they help interpret how the faith relates to daily life through conversations, those teachable moments, through experiences like a death of a relative in the family, or, a conversion of the parent themselves can be a really, impactful thing for the rest of the family. While it may sound scary as if all of the responsibility is falling on your shoulders, there's actually a tremendous amount of resources available here at the parish and the greater community to lean on. But first and foremost, you need to make a personal decision. You need to decide whether or not you actually want your children to grow up to be Catholic. And then if that's important to you, you need to take a look in the mirror and see if you're being a good role model. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. No one is perfect. St. Therese said that our path to sainthood is to do little things every day, make little changes every day in your life, and to trust God and to strive for holiness. And all of the intent in the world is not going to impact your children as much as seeing you genuinely live out the sacramental life of the church. So once you've made this decision that you want your children to have faith in their life, then you're ready to plug in more to the parish. So here's some practical things you can frequently do to put our faith into practice. Attending weekly mass seems like a no-brainer, but also, praying before meals or before bedtime. I pray rosaries in the car when some of my kids are particularly kind of picking on each other or kind of being argumentative. All of a sudden, I grab the rosary, and now I am in charge of what's being said in the car, and we are asking for Mary's intercession. Taking trips to religious sites or attending mass at a church when you're on vacation are great, ways to, live our faith outside of even our area. My wife's family, her grandpa had a home down in the Ozarks that they would spend time at in the summer, and they would always go to mass at the church that was in their area, and so that was like their vacation church. I also had a friend recently during the Year of Mercy who he and his wife traveled to Mexico. They traveled to several different places to visit the Holy Doors at churches all over the world. And so, what a great way to experience our faith while traveling at the same time. You can go on mission trips. And one that I'm particularly bad at, my family, when I was a kid growing up, would visit cemeteries all the time, and I just don't do it with my kids. But praying for loved ones at a cemetery is a great way to launch conversations, not only about your family, but about where we go, when we're gone. And so, I think that's a great thing to do. It's also really important to have a relationship with the priests and youth ministers and mentors and people in the parish. And so those people are great guests to invite over for dinner. And then volunteering at Mass is just something that, we really here at Ascension struggle with getting people to commit to volunteering as ushers, altar servers. You're always hearing, especially in the summertime, announcements right before Mass that we need another Eucharistic minister, we need another altar server. And, it's so moving to participate in the liturgy in a volunteer role like that. And, it's also a way that you can get your children out of the pews and, up and moving around during Mass and still participating, still being engaged, but actually doing even more by, helping everyone else in their experience. And ushering is super easy. It's a great thing to do with children, to have a parent and a child usher during Mass. And so, I can't encourage you enough to commit to helping serve in those liturgical roles. And, along those same lines, teaching, like at Vacation Bible School or Youth Faith Formation, is always looking for more volunteers to help teach, younger children in our Youth Faith Formation program. And then finally, there's all these great dinners and meals to go to here at the parish. We recently just had our parish picnic. The Knights of Columbus put on fish fries during Lent. They have a Italian dinner that's just phenomenal here. And so there are just, things going on outside of Mass at the parish that you can bring your family to. And they're also a great way to invite friends and neighbors who aren't Catholic to come and, experience something at our church. So I think it goes without saying that an effective Catholic family has a deep relationship with their parish, both, on campus and at home, and even on vacation. They often have a strong relationship with their priests and other mentors because the Christian community found at their church, it's a system of shared support and purpose. And it's not enough in today's culture to expect that just attending classes for sacraments is going to be enough to pass on the value of being Catholic to our kids. So we as parents have got to talk to them and help them spiritually process what's going on in our daily lives, especially in those moments of crisis and loss, so that our kids will know that seeking a relationship with God as a Catholic is going to give them a future of meaning and purpose and joy. We'll see you next time.